We're tracking the tropical wave across the Gulf, plus what's moving in next. Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice. Been keeping an eye on this tropical wave across the Gulf, and as this thing continues to press off toward Louisiana, flood alerts are in place as we're trying to decide if this system is going to become a named tropical system or not. I'm going to unpack it all for you, plus look closer at what could be coming next in the hurricane season with what's happening back toward Africa. Folks, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I want you to like this video right now, and in the comments section, let me know where you're watching from right now. And as always, you can turn on that notification bell and be notified when I issue a new video. That helps you stay up to date with what's happening right now. Let's look closer at what's going on right now across the Gulf. As the sun came up this morning, our invest, our tropical wave, has bubbled up some energy. Now, this is a sloppy system that is hugging closer toward the panhandle of Florida. Because it's closer to the land, it now has a lower chance at becoming a named tropical system, but those semantics can really confuse a lot of people. And, it doesn't matter if this is a named tropical storm or not. The impacts are likely to be the same for parts of East Texas, parts of Louisiana. We're looking as high as 10 inches of rain in some of these areas along the Gulf. And today, things are finally getting better for you in Florida. It has been a rough 48 hours of rain, lightning, flooding. Things are looking up. It's just going to turn very, very hot in the coming days. Let's unpack what's happening right now. At the bottom, you'll see your severe risks. Above me, you'll see the new hurricane maps as they unfold here. Let's refresh this because we're getting fresh information in here from the National Hurricane Center as we look at this area. It is over some very warm waters of the Gulf. And as we move forward here, that is something we're going to need to watch very closely because, it is in an area that would support the potential of this becoming a little bit of a more feisty type system here. So 40% chance of development in the coming days. And our computer models, as we unpack them and watch them very closely, are showing that this low is actually close to land. All right. Satellite imagery shows it's a big sloppy blob, but because this low or the actual circulation is near land, it's likely to kind of hug the coast with 1 foot in the water, 1 foot off, which means its chance of becoming an actual tropical system may be lower, but it's still packing a lot of rain and a little bit of rotation there. So there is some degree of a severe weather risk with this as we move forward. So the tropical model is just not real excited about this becoming a big bad system. As we mentioned, if it hugs the coast, it's going to remain weaker and sloppy, perhaps a big flood maker, but not as big of a wind maker. If it goes out to sea further, that's when it would have a chance at possibly bubbling up. The GFS models and its ensembles are in good agreement here as well. You got the operational run in red. You got all of its averaged ensemble models in black right here, kind of hugging the coast and then going into Louisiana. So this is going to be a lot of rain for this area, which could cause some flooding. Our ships model in line with that as well. Possibly a depression, maybe not. There's a lot of wind shear as this gets closer to land. It is over warm water, though. At least half of it is. And as it moves back over it, its potential to become strong does start to crash on down. So let's look at what the models are saying. Here's the European model, latest one, showing if it can stay right out over water, we may just get kind of a cheap shot name. And I hate to say it like that because this system could really be a severe maker with flood threats. However, this is not a big bad system out in the middle of the Gulf that would have a chance to really rapidly intensify. That said, this is going to cause some problems for parts of the southeast as it moves on through. Let's look at that energy. Here's the European model, kind of sloppy moving into Louisiana, possibly into East Texas. We don't want it to go into East Texas. We don't need any more flooding anywhere in Texas, all right? Let's look at the GFS model. It too is sloppy into East Texas, Louisiana, then curling back up toward the east, and just a sloppy amount of moisture. And look at this. The GFS model hinting at some other energy trying to wrap back around here in a similar fashion to what we just had here. That form or that fashion kind of going around, kind of like a clock right there where you get the cycle to happen where it goes into the Atlantic then back into the Gulf. That's what the GFS model is trying to hint at here with it going around in circles, possibly with some other excitement about this time next week. How about the ICON model? It has been showing signs of wanting to try to develop develop something here. It goes and curls this thing up a little bit tighter as we go into our Thursday time frame. Basically, tonight into Thursday is when it has a chance to get a quick name, but it's running out of real estate and it's running out of time being over water. But a lot of flooding rain possible here from Texas to Louisiana. And the Weather Prediction Center here has their latest numbers for how much rain. Notice there's a pretty good maximum here of 5 to as much as 10 inches of rain across central Louisiana. And that moisture kind of extends into parts of East Texas and then kind of just fizzles out or gets absorbed into the atmosphere. That said, the mountains of western North Carolina, another little maximum here, as the flow around this low makes its way up toward the mountains, it hits that wall, and that wall kind of protects it from moving anywhere else, and you get that potential to become a little bit more feisty. Let's look at the flood risks. Here's the latest from the Weather Prediction Center. Noticed East Texas has been added to the medium risk of flash flooding, while central Louisiana under that level 3 risk for flash flooding. That tells you a little bit where they expect the landfall of whatever this is, or the bulk of whatever this is, to move on through. Let's look at day 4. This will go into Saturday's time frame. It's kind of moving up into central Louisiana, and notice the remnants and the juicy atmosphere kind of hanging out in this area, which could cause some flooding up through the Carolinas into Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and then you get some flooding here in the Midwest with some slow-moving thunderstorms. That would be the problem there. That happens on Sunday as well. Let's look at the big picture for storms, because when you have a low in the Gulf feeding in higher humidity, it's going to make the thunderstorms that do form, which do look to be trending down a little bit. The storms that do form are going to be a little more on the feisty side with some heavy rain. So later today, the models aren't too optimistic about a widespread amount of rain, but those of us that do get rain with dew points well into the 70s, it is going to be a feisty afternoon of storms here for Panama City up through Albany, Georgia, into Atlanta, into the upstate of South Carolina. This area could have quite a bit of rainfall here moving forward. And this low tries to tighten up right here. You see how it tightens up there Thursday morning, tomorrow morning into the afternoon. That's when we could get a quick, hey, yeah, it's a tropical storm, and it's making landfall at the same time. All right, so this would move on through those areas. And notice how that front to the north slowly comes on through, and there you have it. We've got some extra thunderstorms on the way. The heat is going to be the big story moving forward. Close to 100 degrees today in many locations, and then going into tomorrow, possibly a little bit hotter. We got plus 100 degree heat indices across the south as the heat and humidity are locked in. So where do we go moving forward here? We've got a lot to unpack here, because there are some signs that tropical waves are going to become a little bit more prevalent here off the coast of Africa. I want to show you our pattern here at home and then what's happening in the Atlantic, because the two do have some correlations. Because when these tropical waves do form and you got warmer waters here across the Atlantic, it does have the potential that whatever the Bermuda High is set up as, or whatever the pattern across the southeast looks like, we could have some additional heavy downpours in some areas. So let's unpack what that actually looks like and where we go from here, because I'm watching it closely across the entire southeast here. Above normal temperatures looks to be the pattern. So this tells me we're drying out a little bit in some form. You know, we're not going to have widespread days of just soaking rain, but we are going to have some afternoon thunderstorms fueled by this extra heat. This is the 8 to 14 day time frame now. This gets us all the way to the end of July. How about that first week of August? We have a sneak peek at that. This goes through August 8th. My goodness, still dealing with above normal temperatures across the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, down to Louisiana. Hot and humid conditions. So above normal precipitation across the Gulf. This would be really from Tampa, Sarasota, over through Orlando, up through Cedar Key, into Panama City Beach, Destin, Pensacola. It's going to be wet, wetter than normal, in fact. And that trend looks to hold true in those same areas up through the Carolinas here in that last week of July. This would go July 23rd through the 29th, above normal precipitation. And then finally, looks like we get back to some quote-unquote normal weather first week of August. What does that have to do with the pattern as a whole? Well, as I look at the global hazards, if we were to look up here at what's going on across the Caribbean and the southern parts of the Gulf, you see this brown area. That is actually Saharan dust that is plentiful out there right now. So that last week of July, really for the next 10 days or so, that area looks to be suppressed. And that's good because as you see above my head here in a minute, you're going to see the ocean heat content. I update that every 5 minutes above my head here. And you can see that we've got that threat for, there it is right there. You see that Caribbean area, all the red. That is ocean heat content, basically fuel for hurricanes. Thankfully, we have above that, the ocean's primed and ready to go, but the atmosphere above it is not. We have drier air hanging out. So at least we're going to subdue the Caribbean for a little while. You saw just a few moments ago that the Gulf was trying to flare up some activity here. As we see that moisture wrap around from what could be Dexter, it does a little circle over the Carolinas, comes back around the Atlantic. If some of that moisture can break off and get a little more organized, yeah, we could have a threat over the next 10 days closer to home. I would not discount that threat. Models have been aggressive at it and then backing off, aggressive then backing off, but we'll need to watch that. How about moving forward, though? I've been talking about those tropical waves. Let's go out right here. You see this. This is Thursday, July 24th. I've been telling you that the main development region does appear to be getting more active. And as we move forward, we're going to start to see some hatched areas. I think sometime late next week, we'll start to see some 30% chances off the coast of Africa, which could become a little higher. Notice this wave right here showing some staying power on the European model. It's a low rider, which means we'd have to watch this for the Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Tobago. But this is as far as the European ensemble goes to next Saturday, the 26th, with a pretty formidable wave right here watching. So the waves are getting stronger. The waves are getting more, let's say, juicy. All right, so let's look at what the European model is saying. This is the deterministic model run, lower pressure here. So we'll go out to that same time frame, and it is showing the potential of some lower pressure in here. And my daughter wants to say hello. Would you like to say hello to everybody here? Yeah. Okay, come say hello, and you can wave to our friends here. This is Olivia. Say hello. Watching the hurricane threats. Okay, so go to Mama, okay? I'll see you in a few minutes.
Wait, you got your work stuff on.
Yeah, I got my work stuff on. I'll be back with you in just a few minutes, okay?
Are you going to go to work today?
Yeah, I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to go to work here today. Okay, go to Mama. I'll see you in... No, I'll see you in just a wave at him one more time. Here you go. Whee! Okay, now go to Mama. I'll see you in a few minutes, okay? Bye. All right, so watching that threat for waves deeper into the Atlantic right here. And we'll be watching that very, very closely as the days come on. I wanted to show you, though, before we leave, the ensemble members for low pressure locations. This is basically where the ensemble model has the lowest pressures. And as we map this out, notice that big cluster here off the coast of Africa. The tropical waves are getting more plentiful, and when they splash down into the Atlantic, some of them are going to have more staying power right there as we move on through. So again, watching that, let's look at the ensemble member. Here's the European lowest pressure anomalies. Got a little something trying to form here late next week in the Gulf, that wraparound effect. It's weak, 1,002 millibars, but it's something to watch. Got a couple of waves here. There's that one we just showed you off the coast of Africa. It comes off. It's weak. It's dealing with some dry air, but it does look like something tries to get close to the Caribbean islands here. At least the Windward Islands, have to watch that. One of those situations where we could get some tropical action to try to form there. And now it's in the Caribbean. You see that 10-12. So just simply want to put on your radar, so to speak, that we have some action that we need to try to watch in the coming days. And there's another little wave breaking off of that energy there. So just something to watch. I'll run through the GFS mean low pressure locations. Let me just flip that over. This is the lowest pressure. Where is it at? There it is. All right, we're in that same model through right here. Going on through. Notice some of these waves toward the end of the frame, trying to get going here across the southern part of the Atlantic. And that main development region just becoming a little bit more active. See a couple of lows right here off the coast of Africa. So simply put, we need to stay dialed in on what could be larger tropical waves moving off the coast of Africa, then trying to roll off toward the west in the coming days. All eyes are peeled on the flooding threat for the Gulf Coast over the next 48 to 72 hours. That will be through Thursday into Friday. And Louisiana, East Texas looks to be primed up for the worst of it. We could be 5 to 10 inches of rain. Folks, you know I'm going to keep you posted around the clock. If you're new to this channel and appreciate my no-nonsense approach, I'm going to tell you when it's time to be prepared. No nonsense means I'm going to let you know. I'm going to be transparent with what I'm seeing and when I see it. But I'm also not going to hype anything. I'm going to tell you when it's time to worry and when it's time to prepare for your family. My goal is to always arm you with the information you need to keep your family safe. So if you appreciate that, please comment in the comment section and let me know where you're watching from and subscribe to this channel. We'll have more updates to come on the flood threat, the storm threat, the heat coming in, and those tropical waves becoming more active.